Sorry about that. Hope you guys are doing good. I am sorry that, again, I'm sorry that I'm starting late on here. I've literally been crawling under my desk trying to fix what is going on with my computer, and I'm not quite sure what is going on. It's honestly a big headache, and yeah. I don't know. I'm hoping that I can figure out how to fix everything on my iMac. Right now, I am trying to see if I can pull this up on my desktop. Oh, yeah, I think I can. There we go. And so now I can see the chat in there. So I can probably just move this over, hopefully, and then we can get started with today's live stream. So, all right. I think that should work. I'm going to keep that open right there just in case. Looks like we have a few viewers on Instagram, and we have a few on YouTube. I want to thank you guys for tuning in for this. This has been something I've been wanting to do for a long time now, and I'm really excited to finally be doing this. Hello, Micron West from Russia. Hello, Things Carol. Or Carol, I guess. Yeah, so what we're going to be doing with these live streams is I'm going to try to have a topic in place. And of course, as always, I'm going to be answering all of your questions. Again, I've got my phone here with Instagram Live, and I've got my my camera here for YouTube Live. So if you guys see me looking back and forth between the two, that is why. Hello, Vishesh. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. Hello, Florencia from Uruguay. Hope you guys are having a great day so far, and hope you guys are staying safe in these crazy, crazy times. Before I get started with the topic, or even share with you guys what the topic is for today, I thought I would give you guys an update on my mom. As you guys may know, she is just finished up her cancer treatments. But she is currently trying to stay safe with everything that is going on. There has been a case. Hello, Benny, the illustrator from Norway. There has been a case of the coronavirus in the area that she lives in. So it does put me a little bit on edge, and it does make me a little bit nervous. I'm hoping that she will be okay, and that we don't have to worry about all this. I'm trying to make sure that I look okay. Let me scoot over here just a little bit for the other camera. But it does make me a little nervous. This time next week, I was supposed to fly out to Georgia for Creative South and to spend a good bit of time with her. Unfortunately, I've had to cancel my flight because Creative South was canceled, or excuse me, postponed. And then also, with all this stuff happening, I did not want to potentially bring the virus to my mom. But yeah, so if you guys are liking these live streams, please throughout them. If you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Instagram, like them, send me the hearts and stuff like that. It keeps me, it lets me know that you guys are enjoying what you guys are seeing. But today I actually have kind of a topic, and it was something that I was talking about last night when I was live, and also on Instagram and on Facebook. And the topic is, freelancing and finding jobs in the current economic climate. So there's a lot of you who are jumping on here who are not from the United States. You guys are throughout the world. We saw Russia, Uruguay, Norway. There's a lot of different people out there from different backgrounds, different economic backgrounds, and right now is a scary time with everything that's going on with the coronavirus and with just economics in general, and the potential of a global recession. It's scary, right? It's a very scary thing out there, and so the important thing to remember is that there is always going to be a bright side to things. There's always going to be a silver lining, or at least there is going to be a greener pasture once we get over all this stuff. Don't let all this scare you guys. I know it can be extremely scary sometimes, but hopefully everything is going to be clearing up, and the stuff that we go through is not going to be long lasting. If we go back, what was it, 12 years ago to the recession of 2008, things generally started to simmer down after a few months into a year. And so hopefully we're not going to be in that big of a problem, but we will get through this. And if you guys are watching on YouTube, you can probably see my dog laying down on his chair back there. You guys on Instagram can't. Let me see if I can move this over just slightly so you guys can see him. There he is with all the Adobe pillows, and you can see the ones that he's knocked off. He does not like Adobe XD or After Effects, or no, is that Premiere? That's Premiere. But yeah, so with everything that's happening and everything, the important thing to think about if you are a freelancer or if you are looking for a job, if you are a student who is just getting out of college, is that there are going to still be jobs, there's still going to be projects, and don't overreact, don't get too scared about that. I'm curious also if you guys have any questions about the stuff that I'm talking about. Please let me know in the comments, in the chat for YouTube, or in the chat here on Instagram, and I'll try to answer them as best as I can. With Instagram, I'll try to pin the questions that I see come up. That way we can kind of get those answered. But yeah, so, you know, yesterday I had a really great question that popped up during my second live stream, and it involved what I can only imagine a lot of people, a lot of students are freaking out about right now. Those of you who are just about to go out into the real world, or graduate from college, or you might find yourself out of a job because of what's going on. It's going to be scary. It's going to be nerve-wracking. It's not an easy thing. I know that for sure because I found myself out of a job twice. But things will be okay. Hey Vishesh. But one thing that I want to talk about is, for those of you who are looking for jobs, who are job hunting and everything, what type of jobs or companies you should be targeting. I don't think that those of you who are designers or illustrators and whatnot, I don't think that it's going to be a good time to be looking for jobs at agencies or studios. Instead, it's going to be better to find jobs in-house at companies because of the fact that they are going to be able to weather this storm that's coming a lot easier than smaller agencies and studios. Freelancers like myself and like the rest of you who are tuning in, they are going to be able to weather this storm a lot easier. I actually just thought about this. I should have been posting this into some Slack channels. 1 second. Going live now on YouTube. I just thought about that. I completely forgot to share this. I was like, why am I only having such a few viewers? Okay. The reason why I suggest that you focus, hello, Amir, can't tell exactly how to pronounce your name, sorry about that. The reason why I suggest focusing on in-house work or in-house jobs versus working at agencies and studios is because of the fact that they're going to be able to weather the storm. And if you're freelancing or you're an independent studio owner like myself, we are going to have a lot less overhead than those major companies, so studios and agencies. Studios and agencies have a lot bigger problems in recessions because of their overhead, because of the number of employees that they have, because of the spaces that they rent out. If they are working remotely, then they might be better off, but there is going to be it's going to be a lot harder for them. And so that's why I think that anyone who is looking for a job right now or looking for freelance work, focus more on the in-house design jobs, and you might actually be able to find work as a freelancer for agencies and studios because they're going to be looking at hiring less but hiring contractors to save money for them. I see Vishesh has a question. Concept art versus graphic design, which should you choose? Honestly, I'm going to tell you right now, concept art is not going to be the smartest thing, um, because you're very tailored to specific jobs. You're going to be tailored to doing stuff with agent or with us movie companies and things like that, or gaming companies. Graphic design, or just design, different types of design, because graphic design is actually a general term, but being a branding designer, being a UI/UX designer, things like that, that is going to give a lot more opportunity than a concept artist would, or just a standard graphic designer would. So I would definitely suggest that. Again, if you guys have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to ask away. I'm basically an open book here, and I would love to share any and all insights that I might have for your specific questions. Again, for those of you who are just tuning in, today's topic is freelancing and finding jobs in this tough economic time that we're currently in, because of both the pandemic and because of this whole possible recession that we are on the cusp of. I would definitely suggest to people that if you are working a full-time job, you should definitely pick up freelancing on the side and get as much work as possible to save up money and to build up your network. How can I start designing for motion graphics? I'm not a motion graphics artist or designer, so I can't really touch too much on that. Hello from quarantine. Hello, Uzi.co. I can tell you, with basically getting into any type of design or creative job, the best thing to do is just to practice, just to create things, just to learn new things about that, build up your skill set, and share what you are learning and what you are creating on social media. When you do that, you tend to get a lot more exposure, and people will find you, people will want to hire you for things, or you could possibly even get a job from that. So I definitely suggest that that's what you do, that you go through and you just practice, create, learn, etc. Excuse me, I need a Perrier break. When you're talking consistently for a while, it can get difficult and your throat can dry out. If I do cough, that is the reason why I'm coughing, not because of any sickness or illness. It is because of the fact that my throat is extremely dry right now. And I'm sharing this again on other social media platforms so more people can tune in. So a question just came in on Instagram. How can I improve my art? Or how can you improve your art? And I see there are a couple things that just popped up on YouTube. I will get to those. Please bear with me. But to answer the question, how can you improve with your art? And this goes for anything, is literally what I just said for learning any skill. It's just practice. The more that you do, the more that you create, the more that you push yourself, the better you're going to be at your skills. The way that you create things, the skills that you have behind you, that is more important than anything that you're, like, any degree or anything like that. So if you want to be a illustrator, the best thing to do is to spend anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour a day illustrating, drawing, sketching, creating with things in Adobe Fresco on the iPad, creating things in Adobe Illustrator on the computer. But it's important that you're always doing, always creating, because that is what's going to help you in the long run, 100%. I can guarantee that completely. Let's see. Okay, so I got one question that popped up here on YouTube. The new contractor tax laws, are those affecting you? How do you think it will change our industry? So that is actually something that's big happening here, especially in California. I don't know how much it's being affected in other cities and countries and everything like that. But right now they have a lot of stuff going on where they are basically saying that contractors have to be employees of companies. I don't know the full outline of it. I do know that I'm not actually affected by these laws because of the fact that I am not a contractor, but because I actually have a business. I have a LLC that I file as an S corp, which means that I am not an employee or a contractor of a company. I am a partner with a company. And so, because of that, I'm not affected by these laws, and my clients aren't affected by these laws. Now, if you are a freelancer who is doing this full time, or you're doing more than $10,000 worth of work a year, I would definitely suggest that you create an LLC so that you can protect yourself and protect your clients from certain activities like this. Excuse me. When I drink Perrier, which I tend to do a lot, I tend to burp, so I do apologize. But it is something that is affecting a lot of other freelancers. If you are a freelancer doing business in California or with a company in California, it does make it more difficult unless you are protected, unless you have an entity behind you and not just yourself by yourself. So I would definitely suggest, if you are doing freelance work for companies in California, that you do look into creating an LLC. Now, there are some things with LLCs. You will have to pay fees each year depending on your state in the US. I don't know about other countries, but in the US you have to pay fees unless you set up your LLC in Nevada or in Delaware. And there are ways of getting around paying those fees. You can create a P.O. box, get a P.O. box at a location in Nevada or in Delaware, and you can set up your LLC, and you just have your mail that comes into the P.O. box forwarded to your actual address. It's iffy. I don't have that. I actually have an LLC set up in California. But hopefully, Scott Pokrant, I think that's how you say your name. Hopefully that answers your question. And again, if anybody has any questions, please ask them. I'm about to go through and scan through the comments here on Instagram and see if anything else has popped up. I don't think it has. But yeah, so the one thing with all of these live streams, you can ask any and all questions, and I will try to answer them to the best of my abilities. I will also ask, if you're liking what you're hearing, if you're liking what, what I'm talking about, please remember on YouTube to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and please hit the heart button on Instagram if you guys are liking this as well. Let's see, I'm going to do one more question on YouTube, and I see that there are a couple of questions coming in on Instagram, so I'm going to move that so that I can get back to those questions once I get done with this one. Henry L. asks, what's a good place to find work? There are a lot of different places that you can find work, freelance work or jobs in general. I have found that the best way in this day and age to find work, to find high quality work and everything like that, is to go through and post on social media, as well as going to networking events. Of course, right now, do not go to events. Do not go to anything like that. Remember to wash your hands. We shouldn't be doing this. We should be practicing social distance, as well as quarantining ourselves in our homes so we don't catch the virus. Okay? Please definitely don't do this now, but once all of this stuff is over, then go to events, then go to things like that and build up your network. Right now, there are many opportunities for digital events that people can attend. Different live streaming sessions. There's Canceled Con, which is coming up the first Saturday of April. Definitely go check that out. My friend Andrew Hockrattle is putting that on, and it actually looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I would definitely suggest that people do stuff like that. But right now, the best way that you can find work is to as you're going through and practicing and building up your skill set, go through and share that stuff on social media. Share what you're doing, sharing what you're working on. I'm on many different social media platforms. I'm on Instagram, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Dribbble, Behance. Right now, the main parts of my efforts go to Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And I am working, as you guys can see with me going live both on Instagram and YouTube at the same time, that I am trying to post more on there. The thing is that nobody's going to be able to find you to hire you for work unless you have a social presence. So you have to put yourself out there. You have to put your work out there. And if you don't, then you're not going to be able to get as much work, or any work for that matter. So definitely keep that in mind. On top of that, I would suggest, on specific platforms, depending on what you do, what type of design work you do, that is going to really define what social platform would work best for you. If you are a full-time freelancer and a small business owner, then you might want to go onto LinkedIn. And you don't want to actually go and spam people like, hey, if you ever need help with stuff like this, let me know. Actually try and make connections with people through there. Post articles, do posts where you talk about the things that you're working on, about the stuff that you're creating and things like that. Talk about your process, about certain things that are going on right now in the industries and everything like that. People will respond. People will reach out to you. The past 3 to 6 months, I started doing that a lot more. I haven't done it as much in the last month or so, but I did see an increase in inquiries that came in because of that. In fact, one of my freelance clients right now, they came to me through LinkedIn, and they have since referred me to 3 other potential clients and projects since then. So it's been very lucrative for me. So I would definitely suggest finding the right platforms for you and for your business and for what you're wanting to do. Now, let me go through here. Hopefully that answers your question, Henry L. Let me go through now on Instagram, see if anything else has popped up. Let's see. Loving the advice being given, watching after a day at the office here in London. Glad that you're loving the advice, and please stay safe out there, Please stay safe out there in London, the girl with grit. Again, if anybody has any questions or anything like that, please feel free to ask away. I need to have another drink of Perrier while I'm waiting for questions. If you guys have any suggestions for topics that you would like me to talk about, either in this stream or in future streams, please let me know as well. I would love to continue to continue to do a lot more of these live streams, and I would love to be able to have actual topics as well. Okay. Yeah, so it seems like everything's holding up right now, because I've got to explain for those of you who are just tuning in. I have right now my Sony A7 III doing the streaming for YouTube. I have my phone doing the streaming for Instagram. I have my iMac. I have the live stream on YouTube pulled up so I can check the chat there. The camera is connected to my MacBook Pro because right now it's the only thing that is working with the cam link. And hopefully I can get the iMac fixed as well soon. But yeah. Okay, so here's a good question that just popped up on Instagram from the girl with grit from London. Do you ever struggle with imposter syndrome? I've actually talked about imposter syndrome a lot in the last year or so, especially on my podcast, and I've talked about it in YouTube videos as well in the past. Imposter syndrome is something that everybody experiences, and everybody deals with it either at some point in their careers or throughout their careers in the beginning, middle, or even at the end of their careers when they are getting close to the point of retirement, if there is such a thing for a creative. I myself will probably never retire. I don't want to retire. I don't like that word, but I do experience it a lot, actually, especially when you have a large following or a perceived large following on social media. Imposter syndrome can hit you at any point in time. There's times where I will feel very confident. And then there are times where I think, oh my God, I'm a sham. What am I doing? Like, is all of this worth it? I'm not that great of a designer. I'm not that great of an illustrator. Especially it hits when things aren't going well, or if like I'm running into problems or things like that. For instance, last night I was working on a client project late at night, and what I was creating was not working at all. It was driving me crazy. I could not figure out the best way of doing it. And I finally took I think like an hour or two break. I came back to it and I was able to knock it out super quick. That sometimes will happen from time to time. I think that if anybody says that they don't experience imposter syndrome, they're lying. They're Everybody experiences it, not just in the creative profession, but everywhere in general. Every single person alive experiences imposter syndrome. It's just the truth. That's how it is. So I would definitely suggest that if you are experiencing imposter syndrome, take a step back, breathe, and it will pass. That feeling will pass. Everybody has the potential to be amazing at what they do. What you have to do is you have to put in the time, you have to have the passion for it, and you have to just breathe sometimes. Like that's just the truth. Let's see, love your work, and thank you for your time and info you give us. No problem. Shika, I think is maybe how you say that. I'm not completely sure. Corey Miller says, preach. Thank you. Let's see, we have another question here on Instagram. With what types of design or illustration should I start if I'm not a designer? Honestly, the best thing to do is, because if you're just starting off in design or creativity, the best thing that you do is that you take a step back and you look at what you like. Like, what are the things that you like visually, like what's stimulating to you and things like that. So for instance, if you are wanting to get into design, figure out which form of design you want to get into. Are you looking to get into branding design? Are you wanting to create logos? Are you wanting to create websites? What exactly do you want to create? Same thing with illustration. With illustration, you need to figure out, okay, do you want to create illustrations for websites? Do you want to create them for murals, packaging? Do you want to do editorial illustration? And the important thing is that you have to make sure that you're passionate about what you want to do, about what you want to create and everything. Because if you don't have that passion, if you're not finding that you love what you are doing or what you want to do, then unfortunately that doesn't matter anymore. Nothing is going to matter when it comes to that. Like, if you put in the time to do it, then if you put in the time to learn something, but you're not passionate about it, you've wasted that time. So let's take an example of let's say if you wanted to be a branding designer, then I would definitely suggest that what you need to do is you need to look at other branding designers, look at their work, look at the way that they work, try and go through and reconstruct some of the branding elements or the logos that you're seeing. Don't share those, don't take credit for those, but just take that work, reconstruct it, learn how they went about creating it, and go from there. I don't think that you have to go to college or go to school to learn anything in regards to design. There's literally a free university out there called YouTube University, as I'm live streaming right now, and that will give you everything that you need to know about the design world, about how to do certain things, what works, what doesn't. You can also sign up for Skillshare or other things like that, and you can find a lot of opportunities through there. There's also places like General Assembly, who offer courses for people, or full-blown boot camps in order to teach you the skills that you need to learn in order to do these types of things. and I would definitely suggest that you look into stuff like that. But that's basically the easiest thing I can say in regards to where you should start, to learn design. Hopefully that makes sense. I know I rambled on and everything. For some reason, when I start doing live streams for the first time in forever, I tend to ramble on a lot more than I would like to, and I do apologize for that. I am going to put out another call for questions both on Instagram and on YouTube. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to ask away. If you guys are liking what you are seeing, please remember to hit the like button. And if you're not subscribed, subscribe to my YouTube channel. For all of those of you on Instagram, if you guys are liking what you're seeing, please hit that heart button. I'd love to see all of the hearts pop up. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. I've been seeing a lot of people coming on, especially on Instagram, and I have been seeing a few people come on YouTube. Again, I'm hoping to make this a daily thing where I start going live for an hour, maybe even 2 hours throughout the day to answer any questions or just to talk about some of the things that are on my mind right now, and everything. So I really appreciate you guys tuning in and watching this. We're at the 30+ minute mark here. I might go back on if people are asking enough questions and do another hour of streaming. If there aren't as many questions, then I might not do another hour, at least on Instagram and YouTube. So please, if you guys are liking what you guys are seeing, please let me know. Please share any and all questions or even a topic that you'd like to just hear my thoughts on. Okay. Well, as I mentioned at the beginning of this live stream, the topic that I wanted to mainly talk about today was freelancing and finding jobs during this economic crisis that's going on, right? I know that one thing I need to work on with these is I need to actually create maybe a slide deck or something like that where I talk about these things and have a actual set, plan of attack for these topics. But for right now, I'm just going to go off the cuff, and hopefully starting next week I can actually have something in place for this. We can only hope, right? But yeah, so one thing that I know there's probably a lot of you here who are either freelancers or you guys want to be freelancers, right? You want to do a lot of freelance work, you want to start freelancing and everything. And this is going to be a harder time for that to break into it. But it is going to also potentially be the most lucrative time for freelancing in general. When the economy gets crunched, right? When things start to get bad in the economy, when people start to close their wallets and everything like that, companies tend to look for freelancers to fill gaps in whatever it is they need. If they need photography for their website or for content, they will reach out to freelancers versus a social media production company or something like that. And I kind of alluded to this earlier with some of the stuff that I was talking about. This is going to be an amazing time for freelancers and for gig workers in general, because of the fact that people are going to be looking for lower cost alternatives to hiring bigger studios and agencies. Will we still get hit hard as freelancers for this type of stuff? Yes, we will. That is going to happen. We are going to see a drop in inquiries, a drops in leads and everything like that. But if we were to put forth the effort and push ourselves to reach out to people, to follow up with people, to build our network, to create work and share it, we do have the great opportunity to win during this whole time. Hello, this is Box. Can't exactly tell what your username is. I'm sorry. So one thing that you can do as a freelancer is be a bit more flexible. You might have seen a lot of people talk about how niches or niche is very important as a freelancer and everything like that. Unfortunately, during this time, that is out the window. The idea of having a niche, I don't think is going to be as important as it's going to be to pick up as much work as possible for us. Uh, in reality, right now, survival is more important than sticking to a specific type of project. And what I mean by this is it could be where you are a freelance branding designer who works strictly with restaurants, and maybe it's restaurants in the Atlanta, Georgia area. Um, Unfortunately, I would definitely say that that is too small of a niche. Now, you could be a branding designer, period, in Atlanta, where you're focusing on helping any and all creatives of all, or any and all businesses and everything like that, and that works a lot better. But when you are super detailed, or when you're super focused on one specific thing, then yeah, I'm not quite sure if that's a good idea. Let's see. I have struggles with freelance because I can't find CU. I'm not quite sure what you mean there. This is Box. By that, it's kind of sad. Could you elaborate a little bit further? And I also see that there's a question that popped up on YouTube from Scott Pogrant. Hopefully that's how you say your last name. I do apologize if I butchered that. The question is, and I'll get back to you. This is Box in just a moment. Let me answer this question, and then I'll give you some advice on how you can find customers and clients. What do you charge for design work? Does your rate differ depending on the type of work? Do you do hourly billing or more project-based billing? Okay, so this is actually going to be a big discussion here, and I know it's something that a lot of you are interested in when it comes to just like charging or pricing and everything like that. Box. Okay. Thank you so much for letting me know. Okay. This is Box. Okay. Pricing is very important when it comes to being a freelancer, being a designer, being a studio, whatever it is. Just to give you a quick lowdown, I do not charge hourly. I refuse to charge hourly, and I will turn down projects that prefer to work hourly over project-based or retainer-based type situations. So I only do project-based, and I do take on retainers. I usually will only take on one retainer at a time. I don't like taking on more than one. It's something where I don't want to constantly have to work for just one client at a time, and I don't want a client to take up too much of my time. But to answer the question, does your rate differ depending on the type of work? It does. It's not just the type of work, it's also the type of client as well. I tend to actually, especially with branding, I am at the point right now where I want to do a lot more branding work. And so I am open to help clients who might have smaller budgets. And what I do is I offer them different branding packages. For me, branding could cost anywhere between $2,000 all the way up to $40,000, depending on what it is that they are looking for, the scope of work, the deadline, how big the client is, whether or not they're, an established company who has like a large number of employees versus a one-person, startup. For a one-person startup, I'm not going to charge them the same amount that I would charge a larger company because I know that they're not going to be able to afford it, and I don't want to price out my market. But not every designer does that. It's somewhat value-based pricing, but it's not at the same time. In fact, I'm not a big fan of value-based pricing. What I do like doing is I do like setting a tier system for economic marketplaces, meaning I have a tier for people who are pre-launch or people who are small businesses where they don't have a huge income. Then I have a tier for businesses who have, are a good size and they are established and everything. And then finally, I have a final tier, which is for the larger startups, larger businesses and companies that I tend to work for. And to give you an idea, a great personification of this would be the first tier would be Everspaces or Bristol branded leather company, two brands I've worked with recently that I've shared a lot of work with on Instagram. The middle tier would probably be something like, it would be probably something like a brewing company or something like that that's here in San Diego, or another like middle road type business. And then the larger tier would be something like Adobe, to give you guys an example. But yeah, hopefully that Scott answers your questions. If it did, please definitely like the video or like the stream and everything, and let me know if you have other questions, because you are actually putting out some really amazing questions. Please keep them up. Okay, let's go back to This Is Box. Okay, so This Is Box, your struggle was with finding clients, finding customers. Trust me, that's something that everybody struggles with, and that's the reason why I wanted to come back to this question, because it is something that so many of us, even myself, have struggled with for a long time. There are literally many different ways that you can go about finding clients and finding work and everything. I don't know what it is that you do exactly, like what kind of work you do, and everything like that. If you could actually share it in the comments here, that would definitely help out. But the best thing to do to find clients, to find customers, is to put yourself out there. And I mentioned this a little bit earlier too. Having a social media presence is going to be big on finding clients and customers. Having a website up is going to be important too, and continuously updating both of those with new work, sharing in progress stuff, showing as much stuff as possible is going to be very important to continuously find new clients and find new work. Another thing though, beyond social media, is just building your overall network. And a network is very important when it comes to anything that involves business. Okay, so you're involved with illustration. So what I would suggest that you do is just start posting every single day on social media, posting sketches, doodles, in progress illustrations. Do some of these illustration challenges that you see people posting. But the important thing is that every single day you should be putting out something new, and don't just stick to stuff that you know or that you normally create. Push yourself, try new things, try new styles, try new mediums, meaning like, if you're all digital, try analog. If you're all analog, try digital. But you also need to know what type of clients you're looking for, right? So like with illustration, as a perfect example here, illustration, there's multiple areas that this can, kind of fall into. You have illustration for web and mobile. You have illustration for editorial. You have illustration for things like murals or packaging and things like that. We'll call that like just a completely separate category. And usually if you have digital or if you have editorial, you might dabble a little bit in those as well. But let's say that you are a digital illustrator that's looking for more work with websites and mobile work. I can tell you this right now, if you're not doing that, I would definitely suggest it, because out of the main two, digital illustration for web and mobile is actually way more lucrative than editorial. Editorial, you can find a lot more work for that, but it's going to be very low amounts of money, and very quick turnaround times in general. I actually just had a call with, actually, this was probably like a few weeks ago. I had a call with the creative director at Highlights Magazine. Super nice guy. Reached out because he wanted to add me to their list of illustrators, and hopefully we'll be doing some projects together in the future. He asked me, he told me, mentioned to me like, we give long turnaround times, but our pay is very small. They actually told me that for a full illustration for the cover would be probably around $1,000, and for a internal full page illustration would be probably like 750. If I was creating illustrations for a website for, let's say, one landing page, maybe about one hero illustration and three supporting illustrations, I would charge probably about $2,500 for something like that, about $2,000 to $2,500. So you can see the difference between the two, right? Digital illustration and illustration for websites is going to bring in a lot more money in the long run than editorial. But once you get on those types of people's radar, you can actually get a lot of work coming in, and to where it might balance things out. So that's very important there. Again, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask away. I'm live streaming right now both on YouTube and on Instagram. And yeah, I'm having a blast. I think we might have about less than 15 minutes left before the Instagram one cuts out. But if anybody has any questions, I will try and answer them as much as possible. Thank you so much to everybody who has been asking questions. Hello, Emma Stevens 93. Thank you so much for tuning in. I think that doing these live streams is a lot of fun. I think I need to prepare better though, because I only have one bottle of water here. So yeah. Okay, so we got a couple questions that just popped in on Instagram. Alex Craig, how do you balance your freelance work, personal projects, and with your personal life? So let me first just say that when you are a full-time freelancer or a full-time independent studio owner, as like I'm trying to force myself to say from here on out, there's no real such thing as work-life balance. You kind of always have work happening. You always have this focus on work happening and on business. I tend to work, I would say production work, I probably work anywhere between 2 to 8 hours a day, maybe even more depending on what I have going on. Admin work, I have about anywhere between 1 to 5 hours each day that I have to do. And then content creation, I probably try and do that anywhere between 2 to 10 hours a week. So that just, and that's just like a real rough, I'm gonna move this up because I see other questions coming in. I don't want to lose these. That's just like a real rough estimate of my time that I am putting this stuff out there. I think that in reality, I probably only take personal time. I'll say maybe 2 to 5 hours a day I keep to myself. And what that is I'll take time to relax, to watch Netflix or watch HBO or watch something, or even just like getting caught on a whirlpool on YouTube, watching YouTube content. Right now I'm loving watching these vending machine videos on people who are running vending machine businesses. I know that's a weird thing, but it's something I've been thinking about potentially investing in. And that's what I tend to do. I go out, me and my wife, we try and go out to restaurants. Of course, not anymore with what's going on right now. I try and go to the movies from time to time. I'm a huge movie buff, and usually during the spring to summer, I usually will go to the movies quite a bit and, see what's coming out. But for the most part, I do a lot of focus on work. I also do take time to play video games and play the new Call of Duty. I'm playing Warzone a lot, which has been a lot of fun. But it's really like I don't have a set of balance. The way that I stay sane is I have things like this here, which is my I call it my morning papers. It's my journal for where I just like talk through things. I talk about what's going on, how I'm feeling. If I'm feeling frustrated or stressed, I'll go through and write that stuff out. I've gone through and written 4 pages in one sit-in because I was stressed out about something. And so I think it's a good way of just like staying sane. But I tend to take I only take meetings usually after 11 a.m. Pacific time, all the way to maybe 5 o'clock. I try and keep the mornings for myself. I don't do much work in the early mornings because I try and focus on things I want to do or things I have to do for my business. So hopefully that answers your question, Alex Craig. We have a lot more things that are popping up here, so I'm going to try to answer them as quick as possible because of the fact I don't know how much time I have left because Instagram might be winding down. All right, so here's the next question. How much would you charge for multiple t-shirt designs? It really just depends. I have clients where I have one project right now where I'm creating t-shirt designs for a major company based out of San Francisco. I can't say who they are right now, but we're creating 7 t-shirt designs, each one for their different offices throughout the world, and that project is close to $10,000. But sometimes I do charge anywhere between 2,000 on up for t-shirt designs, or maybe even a little less, depending on what it's for, who it's for, and the type of business and everything like that. Pricing with me varies dramatically, and I need information in order to give a proper answer to that. Jeffrey Beats says, live stream is great. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you're tuning in again. I know you tuned in yesterday. Thank you so much for that. Sort of great, Nate. Do you record these Q&As and post them somewhere? I'm really into looking at other creatives' processes. So right now I'm actually recording. I'm not just doing the Instagram live. I'm also doing YouTube live as well simultaneously. And the goal is to have this recording. It's not recording on my computer, but it is recording on YouTube. And I'm hoping to share that live stream on YouTube so that you can go back and re-watch this if you would like to. I will say this, that usually before people start asking a lot of questions, these can get a little rambly, so I do apologize for that. I will be doing live streams probably from here on out for the next few weeks daily, except for the weekend. I don't know if I'm going to do them on the weekend or not. If I do, I might try and get my wife involved somehow and maybe do a Q&A through with her. But yeah, so these are going to be happening more often. I will be recording and sharing these, so they will finally be here. On Instagram, I can't really record it. I wish I could, but they just don't save all the time, unfortunately, and so they get lost. I apologize for that. The fog behind is disturbing. Not quite sure what you're talking about there. I mean, I guess maybe if you're watching the YouTube and you see that you have that bokeh effect behind me and everything on YouTube, I can definitely understand that. I think. Jeffrey Beats, I'm briefing for an illustration job today. My process is mood board, rough sketch, then finalize art. Is that a good process with client? So my illustration process, I actually have multiple stages for that. The first stage is what I call I used to call it research and discovery. Now I call it strategy, and that involves gaining insights about the company's business. Excuse me, Perrier burp there. I apologize. Gaining insights about the company's business, figuring out as much information as the illustration about the illustrations as possible. Usually that will include any type of text that's going to be accompanying the illustration. Where is it going to be placed? A description of what we're trying to accomplish with the illustration, and any and all ideas that the client has for the illustration. And I make sure that clients share any ideas that they have, and that I never start an illustration without ideas. The reason why is if a client comes to me and they say, hey, I want you to create an illustration of a dog. Okay, what I picture as a dog is different than what you picture as a dog. You guys could be thinking husky. I could be thinking chihuahua. So we have to make sure that we are on the right page. Otherwise, we're going to be spinning wheels. Once I get all the information I need, then I start into sketching, and I sketch out some ideas and some concepts, and I won't move on to actually illustrating until the client has signed off on that. Once they have signed off on the overall concept of an illustration, it is locked in. If they come back and change that later, then we have to create a whole new illustration basically from that. And so we have to I then charge them extra for that illustration. But once they've approved the concept, the sketch, it could be a rough sketch or a detailed sketch, then I move into creating in vector. And depending on the style, that depends what I create in, whether it's Adobe Illustrator or Adobe Fresco. And what I do is all my illustrations are done, and I call this phase the vectorized phase. I call the first phase strategy, second phase is exploration, which is the sketches. Third phase is vectorize, which means I'm creating vector illustrations in grayscale. I create in grayscale because I don't want clients to be focusing on color, and I don't want them to lose sight of what we're trying to do. Once we've gotten the composition approved, everything's good, then we move into color and what I call colorizing. We get that figured out and finalized. Usually I'll share between 1 to 3 color options depending on if they have a color palette or if they don't have a color palette. And then finally is the finalizing stage, which is just preparing the assets for the client. And I try to not give assets to clients until I've been paid with the final invoice. Hopefully that whole process makes sense to you. I have less than 2 minutes left on Instagram, so that means I'm going to be wrapping things up. If anybody has any last minute questions, I'll try to answer as rapid pace as possible. Do you ever negotiate the percentage of company sales in addition to your flat rates? No, I do not. I don't ask the companies usually about how much they make. I have a set idea of how much I'm going to charge. I do, however, have an algorithm for illustration. So if what I do is I find out what we're doing, I plug it in, and then I also have multipliers I add based on company size, late fee, or excuse me, timeline or deadline fees and stuff like that. But I don't adjust percentages based on like company sales. I know that there are certain people out there that do that. I'm not going to name who they are because I just don't want to name who they are because I know them. I do not agree with that. I do not think that that is a good practice, especially if you are someone who wants to remain, a one-person independent studio or freelancer. I don't think that that is the right thing to do. And in order to do that, you have to make sure that you have the know-how and skills to back it up. Okay, guys, so we have less than 30 seconds left on the Instagram. I'm going to say goodbye to Instagram, and then I'll say goodbye to the YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for tuning in for this. I will be going live again tomorrow, and I might pop on and do another live stream later today. Always remember to stay passionate, stay positive, and stay creative. And remember to wash your hands and be safe in this time. Please, guys, be safe. Thank you guys so much for tuning in on Instagram. Whew, okay. Wow, 230 viewers on Instagram. That is insane. I'm going to try and download this video, and hopefully it will download on Instagram. It looks like it did. Now I'm going to share the story. For all of those of you who are tuning in on YouTube, I know there's only a few of you popped on right now. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this. If you guys have any questions whatsoever outside of this video, please share them in the comments down below. If you guys ever have any ideas for topics you would like me to talk about in future live streams, I would definitely suggest that you send them to me, maybe through a DM on Instagram. or through a DM on Twitter or wherever it is that you guys can find me, basically. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. And like I said for Instagram, always remember to stay passionate, stay positive, and stay creative. And please, guys, wash your hands, stay safe, practice social distancing, stay home, don't go out, don't be crazy, okay? Have a great day, and I hope you enjoyed this stream. There will be another one tomorrow, probably at 10 a.m. Pacific time, as long as this camera keeps working. Fingers crossed, right? All right, guys, thank you so much. I'm going to check one more time. Okay, no comments. All right, have a great day, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.